Hey everyone, it is Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. We're going to be creating our kit. Happy 4th of July. The kit came with the sign, the pipe cleaners, the 14-inch pancake frame, the 10-inch pancake frame, the sign extender. It came with a roll of mesh, which I've already pre-cut, 20 inches long. I needed 12 of them. It came with ribbons for our bow. I'm going to set those aside. It came with ribbons for our tails. I'm going to set those aside. I cut these 14 inches long, and I also dovetailed the end. So everything's kind of done for me right now for this video. You'll be in charge of cutting the mesh and cutting the ribbon yourself. So just make sure you're cutting the ribbon for the tails, not the ribbon for the bow, okay? So I've already got started. You can use these at separate times. A sign extender can add on to the bottom of your sign, and you can turn this into your own little door hanger, or you can create this into a wreath. I have a really favorite recipe that I've been using lately, that I use 2 of these together and build a nice big gigantic wreath. So I'm going to set those aside for now. What we're going to do is we're going to add our pipe cleaners directly to where there's a notch and a hole, a notch and a hole, a notch and a hole. Really easy. You don't have to count, you don't have to measure, you don't have to anything. And then you see there are extra holes here that do not have a notch attached to it. We might use those later on if we need help in spots to attach the sign or the bow. So they're there for extra. They're not there because because you have to use them. Just, you know, sometimes in a pinch you don't have enough pipe cleaner to go around the whole base, and so we added a couple spots throughout to help with that. So I'm just going to make sure I add my pipe cleaners. Now where I do my twist is also a nice little detail, but important to help that separation with the layers. When I twist on the outside 6 pieces, I make sure I'm twisting near that notch. Same thing on the inside. I'm twisting that near the notch. So I'm not twisting near the hole. You can see there's a nice space there, and that'll help, again, just separate those layers. Okay, so going right in, we started our mesh. Started with our mesh. It's 20 inches long. I'm going to ruffle right up that center, keeping along the blue line as best as I can. Not it all the way perfect, but just as best as I can. Scrunch it up nice and tight. Come right down on here. I'm going to pull those pipe cleaners apart, kind of pull that apart, and right in there, crisscross, twist, twist. And then I'm going to overlap these pieces and overlap this piece as well. And then the last thing, I just kind of tuck that in between. So we have a nice round kind of piece going on, nice and flat to fit between your main door, storm door combination. Let's move this over here so I have some room. Okay, and then we're just going to keep going just like that right up the center. All the way. Grab it nice and tight. If you're making this wreath for the very first time, I would suggest cutting your 20 pieces and then cutting an extra piece to practice with. Therefore, because what happens is this starts to fray here, and the more you practice with it, the more it frays. It's a woven material. Once you cut it, that's gonna happen, okay? So take your extra mesh that's on the roll still, cut an extra piece, and practice your ruffles. That way, when it comes time to actually use the pieces that you have cut for your wreath, it isn't gonna look mangled, right? We are gonna do our best to hide it, because again, it does fray, so we're gonna do our best to hide it. But just to eliminate some of those blemishes, if you will, I would practice. Okay? Right up the center. Right up the center. Make sure that's nice and tight, nice and small there. Just go right down on top. You are seeing me kind of go in this way, but that's just because I'm trying to get to the middle without getting this part of the pipe cleaner stuck in the mesh. So I'm not actually going in sideways. I am coming straight down on top of that. I'm just trying to move that one piece of pipe cleaner out of the way so I don't get it caught. Someone pointed that out to me. They're like, well, you looks like you put it in sideways. I was like, that's a good, first of all, great observation. Second of all, let me just make sure I say that now so people don't get confused. So I want that to sit directly on top, But I am kind of just going in, so I push that pipe cleaner kind of out of the way so it doesn't go straight up through the mesh, through those little holes. Okay, crisscross, twist, twist, overlap here, overlap here. Now this was a kit. If you have not received our kits before, you can always go to learnfrommelissa.com to check out what new kits we have. There's a button there for kits. It'll take you directly to our kit section. Also, typically I send emails when we have new kits available, so you can join our email list there as well. It's learnfrommelissa, MELISSA.com. Crisscross, twist, twist, overlap, overlap. We do make lots of videos just like this, all sorts of different fun things, so make sure you are following us if you haven't already. Okay, I've already pre-cut the ribbon, so again we're at 14 inches. The kit came with just enough for what you need for this kit, so for this design. So make sure it's 14 inches. I just put my favorite on the top, even though everyone knows, if you follow me, you know I love plaid. I love all the plaids. But this is the star, no pun intended, the star of the show. So I'm going to put that one right on top. Again, they're 14 inches long. I dovetailed the end, which means I folded it in half. I took my scissors, put my scissors on the fold, and just cut right up towards that edge to make a nice pretty V polished look. Then I took my favorite, put it on the top, kind of lined them up, folded it in half to find the center, unfolded, and that is where I'm going to scrunch it up. So I'm going to scrunch it up right there. Now we're still working on the outside frame. Put it right down in there, nice and tight, crisscross. I don't want those to move. I want to be able to fluff them out and put them in place. So I want that twist to be nice and tight, and then I'm going to go up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side. Okay, I'm going to make sure I do that all the way around. And then we have one last step for this piece. Twist, 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 twist. So try to do things that will help my time. So I put them all in here, get them all in, and then so that my kind of muscle memory, my everything's doing the same thing all at once. I put them all in first, fluff them, and then finish them off with one last step. It's an important step, but it's a minor detail, but it's an important step. I think it's important. Nice and tight. Now, if you haven't already, if you purchased this kit, if you haven't already, I would go ahead and make sure your sign is prepped. If you're looking for what to do, how to do it, there is a separate video where I have cutting instructions, preparation. It's actually an Easter kit, but I used it as general instructions so that everybody can go back to that video and see how to identify your ribbon tails, how to know, and tips on cutting mesh. So it was all in one central place, and it all said the same thing. Okay, I'm going to take my wire cutter here, and I'm just going to cut off the rest. Now here's the last part. I'm going to push it in, but I'm going to push it down, so it kind of like scrunches all together and keeps it nice and tight in one spot. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off all of our, make sure you're cutting the right ones. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push it in and push it down Up and down, side to side. Up and down, side to side. Now, I'm not going to touch them. After I do this step, I'm not going to touch them. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do the rest of my wreath, and then at the very end, I'll make sure that they're all still pointing out towards the edge, so you could see all those edges, all those dovetails out towards the edge. See, this is now covering that piece of mesh that was cut. Remember, it was cut, and some of the times it frays. And so this is now covering, concealing, camouflaging, whatever you want to call it. It's covering that up, right, so that you don't see it. Side to side, just like that. Making sure. It's going to help it stay in place. Again, that pull it up and down and pull it side to side is super important to make sure that you continue to see. We have plaid stripes, keep that going all the way around, and you want to be able to see that separation of the whole entire time. Okay, now we're just going to make sure our pipe cleaners are ready for us in the center, and we're going to do the exact same ensemble there, right on that top layer. So ruffle, 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 ruffle. Again, I'm going to go right down on top. Now this is one of the better meshes that are out there. It has the jute, it has the foil going through it. It's one of my very favorites, if you want me to be honest. And the mesh is a supporter. The mesh, I mean, you want to see it, but it's not like really the star of the show. It's the bow, it's the ribbons, it's the sign. So the mesh is there to just kind of support everything else, in my opinion. Of course, yours might be different. That's okay too. But the mesh also is the biggest thing that helps to hide the frame. Now, no one loves this frame more than I do. If you follow me, you know. This is a patent pending frame. I helped co-invent this frame. It is based on my pancake recipe here, so I'm super proud of it. But no one wants to see it. I might, because I love it. But no, your customers, and maybe even you, don't want to see it, right? You want to see the pretty, all the pretty. And so we have to do our best job hiding that frame that we put so much work into. And so the mesh, this layer of mesh, if you're looking at the first layer that you put on and you're like, oh no, I can still see that frame pretty good, right? It's fine. Just keep going. You have another layer. This is your second layer, and another layer of ribbon, and your sign, and your bow. So you're in good shape. Okay, again, I'm not touching those outside ribbons until we have to. Okay, we're not touching those outside ribbons as I just do that until we have to. We're going to make sure we do it all at once just to save ourselves time. Because if we're spending our time fixing those ribbons as we go, we're going to spend the same amount of time at the end fixing those ribbons. So let's just do it just one time. As long as you have them spread apart, up and down and side to side, they will be easy to just put in place in the very end. So just trust the process. You just want to make sure that nothing at the end, nothing is hiding, nothing goes in towards the center of the wreath. Everything comes out towards the edge so that we can see all of those pretty ribbons. Right down on the top. Now, if you didn't buy this as a kit, or even if you did, and you wanted to add in some florals, you could do that very easily before you cut those pipe cleaners off and make them short and do the last thing, the last step. You could add in a little piece of greenery or a little piece of floral, you know, brings a whole nother level to your wreath. Nice and easy, nothing to it, right? Of course, we can level that wreath up and up and up and up and up. But you know, one step, this is, I call this like step one, right? Mesh and ribbon, and then adding in florals. We have a couple levels to that, right? Okay, overlap, overlap. Just make it kind of nice and round as best as we can. Okay, we're going in one last time. Let me get this out of the way. It's kind of getting in my way. There we go. One last time with our ribbon, doing the same thing. Favorites on the top. I'm just going to undo that there, scrunch it up, making sure everything faces out towards the edge. There's one thing different that I do at the end of this and the top layer, just a little bit different. It helps with signs that are maybe a little bit smaller. This is a 10-inch sign, and so it's going to help. Like if I have a 12-inch sign, it covers these pipe cleaners just perfectly. I don't have to really worry about it. If I have a 10-inch sign, I do one other step just to help out a little bit. Again, all the little details are what I think really help make your design go from good looking to perfection. And so I always like to make sure I tell you those little details. Okay, so we're going to do this part is all the same. Twist, 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 twist. In there. Twist, twist, y'all. If you want to watch these and go slower, so the way I learned how to make a bow was I just sat with my favorite person, watching her online, and I just watched her video, paused it, tried it, practiced it, watched it again, kept going, go to the next level, the next step, paused it, practiced it myself. So at any point, you know, of course, this video is recorded. You can always come back. Again, make sure you're following us so you can see all of our videos just like this. Okay, step is the same. I'm cutting all these off. This step is the same. And I'm just cutting these off just so it's less to work with, right? Okay, that looks all crazy. We're going to do one last step. So I'm going to push this down in, but instead of pushing straight down, I'm also going to kind of push it in. So it might not look any different to you, but that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing down and pushing in, okay? Just to kind of help these layers separate. This is the same, up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side, but pushing that layer in and kind of pulling it in towards the center does help separate these layers here. Okay, so just one last thing, pushing it down and in, up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side. Always doing that. And I'm always making sure also that it's a pattern. So I'm always making sure that I pull this plaid out to the right. Now you can do whichever one you want, whichever one feels comfortable, but I'm always making sure that that pattern stays the same. I'm not altering it. Y'all, I know it's, you know, I want to be different, or maybe this side will be different. Or I'm not saying being different is bad, but when it comes to the appeal to the eye and how smooth it looks and how you know, transitional looks, how just smooth. I don't know any other word to really say, but smooth. Keeping it the same pattern, the same deal all the way around, so it's not like chunky. You don't see chunks of the stars and then chunks of the plaid. It just looks nicely and blended. Right now it looks like a crazy mess, but we're going to get to that too. Up and down, side to side. push it in, up and down, side to side. Now, that mesh catches on everything. You saw that if you didn't notice. That just catches on everything. And in the end, at the very end, when it catches, it's good. It helps keep it right in place, right where we want it. It helps. It's good. Of course, when it catches on our clothing, it's not good, right? Okay, so now we're going to add our sign. Now, you could just add, look at how cute that is. Right in the center. So pretty, just like that. We're going to shift it up a little bit. But see what we did here when we pushed those underneath? You see how now that 10-inch frame, or I'm sorry, 10-inch sign, covers those pieces of mesh there. Right? If I put it this way, now I'm covering 5 and not 4. So I have one straight up in the center, one here, one here, one here, one here. And I think I'm going to leave it that way. So we cover all of those. And we're going to set it aside for just a second. We're going to make our bow. Y'all, I do have pretty bad carpal tunnel, so I am going to use an easy bow maker to hold my ribbons in between. I love making the layers. My hands, I love making them. But at a certain point, my hands are like, you got to put that down because we're on fire here. So I'm going to take our 2.5-inch ribbon. This is our first ribbon that we're going to put in. I'm going to add it about 7 inches, 7.5 inches or so. Add my first loop is going to be about 6 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to pinch and twist, pull those apart, twist and loop and pinch and twist and loop. One of the most common questions I get is, why are you putting 2 loops on one side and 1 loop on the other? Why are you doing 3 loops? And I'll tell you. So odd numbers are the thing, right? Odd numbers are the thing. And if I have 5 pieces of this bow, that looks better than 6, right? So if I do 2 loops over here, 1 loop over here, 2 tails, it gives a nice balance of what's going on here in those pieces. I know there's 2 tails and 3 loops, so this is an even number, but we're going for the number of pieces that you see that bow throughout, or that, yeah, see that layer throughout the bow. Okay, so I'm going to go next with a plaid, of course. So I plaid on the inside. I am bringing another plaid to the outside. Just a solid red and, or solid, well, not solid, but red and white. So it's a little different, not the same. Okay, again, everything's going to get smaller now as we go towards the inside of that bow. Everything's going to get smaller, so about 5.5 inches. Pull apart, twist. Oh, that's a new sound. I don't know if y'all could hear that. Twist and loop. So red and white, I use red and white typically for Christmas, of course, but think of all of the different holidays. Also, this bow has a little pattern also. So when I have the 2 tails, or 2 ribbons, let me start over. The 2 loops here, I'm going to make sure the 2 loops go opposite. So we can balance that going through here. And then I had a little glitter here. I had a little sparkle here. So I wanted to bring a little bit of that sparkle into the bow, of course. And we did that with the flag ribbon. So again, tail a little shorter. My last loop has 1 little loop. So it's going to be the thing that covers our pipe cleaner. And then I'm going to pinch, twist and loop, pinch, twist and loop, pinch, twist and loop. So again, with the 3 larger loops and twist. This is just an extra, so I don't count it as my loop count, but I am watching where those 2 loops go, not this side, they're going to go on this side. Okay. lift this off of here. Let's lift this, there we go. Okay, I kind of push that down as we go up, and so I have it all together in my hand. And then nice and tight here, take my pipe cleaner, wrap it around. Now if you are a zip tie person, adding a zip tie is not gonna hurt. It'll be totally fine, but our kits do come with a pipe cleaner for this part. Okay, and then I'm just gonna take that center and go right up to the top, kind of hide our pipe cleaner there. This becomes all spread out just like we had it going on. And then it's easier to actually complete our fluff when it's in the wreath. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. Now we are going to take that bow, because if I put it right here, look how much of that sign it's going to cover. We don't want it to cover, it's okay for it to cover some, but we don't want to cover the whole word of July. So we're going to move that up just a little bit, which does expose some of our pipe cleaners, which is okay. Our sign is gonna cover it, and then we'll use it just like that. Okay, super cute. All right, now that I have this in place, let's just go ahead and get it in there. I'm going to take our pipe cleaners and go straight through. I'm not moving anything out of the way. I'm going straight through to that mesh, all the way through. There we go. That was easy. Usually it's not that easy. Ooh, that one was easy too. Okay, now those holes, remember those holes that I was mentioning right at the very beginning? One of them happens to be right here. So I'm going to try my hardest. Get my chunky little fingers in there. Oops, maybe I should get that all the way through first. With all the lights, I can't even see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna wait to get that all the way in until I get the other side in. I just pulled it through. Get this side in. This, I feel like this takes just as long as everything else does. Sometimes getting that mesh to go through all those layers is so much fun. But it helps to keep those layers in place, to keep the mesh in place, to keep the ribbons in place, to keep everything in place. It helps. Okay. So I'm covering those. It's in the right spot. It's in the good spot. Let me just turn this over so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So I used those little holes. Instead of wrapping that around the whole frame, I just use that little hole, and I'll use that little spot there to secure my sign. Tuck that underneath there. One more time, look at it, so make sure it's good before I secure that other side. Good, just like that. Nice and tight. There we go, just like that. Hide that extra right underneath. Nice clean back. Okay, I'm going to put my pipe cleaner right through here almost, so it gives a little space for those loops to kind of go up. And I'm also going to make sure that my longest part of my bow, which is that first layer of tails, is coming down off the wreath. I'm going to do the same thing I did here. Get through all those layers is the hardest part, of course. And get that other one going. See, if I would have paid attention and been making sure those ribbons all look perfect all along, then I would have been crying right now because I'm moving everything out of the way to make sure that we are in the right spot. There we go. All right, we'll fluff that as soon as we're in. Let me get that nice and secured in there. Y'all, again, I hope that you're watching and following so you can see all of our awesome videos just like this. Of course, we are dominantly in the wreath making business. I do also centerpieces, decorating trees, garlands. I do all those fun things. Everything you need for us in a directory you can find at learnfrommelissa.com. Make sure my bow is good. There's some free resources there. There is, at learnfrommelissa.com, there is links for where you can find our favorite suppliers, our favorite tools, all the cool things. Nice and easy, all in one spot. So you can click on all the stuff there. Now the last thing I'm going to do, go around, make sure no one's hiding. No one ended up underneath someone else over here. Making sure that all of our tails and all of our points are nicely coming out towards the edge. Okay, so I want to be able to take this right from the table right over to my door to take pictures and not have to do anything when it gets there. Right? So everything is pointing out towards the edge. Everything is in its own place, its own spot. There we go. Just like this, we're good to go. Very nice. Y'all, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you learned something. I hope this helped. I hope you're following. And I hope to see you again soon. Look how cute! I love that. Nice and thin for the pancake style. Let me just zoom you all the way out so you can see the whole thing. There we go. Y'all, thanks again for following. I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye, y'all.